even the way he said, the way I'm feeling, it made me feel rattled. Like, gosh, that can feel so unstabilizing. Feel like everybody has a right to have a fantasy for what they want or what they hope for. And then when reality...
I really am curious how you found out though. And
I hope he told him.
You think?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I hope.
I hope it wasn't your mum.
That's an interesting one.
Because I was going to say, what was the intention?
Hi, and welcome to the Therapy Floor. I'm Dr. Ritz.
And I'm Dr. Vicky.
And we're here to answer your dilemmas.
Let's go for it. So the dilemma reads, I'm a man in my 20s. I want to start by saying I have a good relationship with my dad now. But recently I found out something that has left me feeling unsettled. Apparently when I was around 7 to 10 years old, my dad was disappointed in the kind of child I was. I'm dyslexic, wasn't popular, didn't enjoy sports, and was more into reading and creativity. My dad, on the other hand, is big into rugby, cycling and tennis. Knowing this now, I can't help but question some things that I thought were settled. Does he actually love me? Has he learned to love me as I am, or does he still wish I was the sporty, typical son he imagined? Growing up, I was much closer to my mum than my dad. They eventually divorced when I was in my teens. My dad pushed for it because he no longer loved her. Oh dear. Now I wonder if my dad's disappointment back then shaped the distance between us when I was younger. I just feel rattled, like I'm questioning the foundation of our relationship. Ooh. Ooh. I think I want to start by saying, gosh, I'm sorry that you're feeling like this. Feeling, having questions about whether you are loved, whether you are accepted, whether you're a disappointment is really, really painful stuff that I think can really touch us deep down to the core,
What was the word he used? Unsettled.
Yeah.
And it's rattling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like even the way he said, the way I'm feeling, it made me feel rattled. Like, gosh, that can feel so unstabilizing.
Well, yeah, particularly if you feel like your relationship is one way, but actually you're questioning, how did you feel about me when I was younger?
Because a new piece of information has come in which has changed the narrative. It's like, I thought my dad thought this about me, and this is what I've based our relationship off. And now I have this almost 180 piece of news that he thinks this about me. And now, what does that mean?
And you kind of the picture that I have of your dad, and I don't know if this is what you were intentionally trying to let us see, but I guess it gives us an insight into your perception of your dad, is that he's someone, if he does not accept the other person, if he doesn't love the other person, he pushes them away. I mean, that was quite a stark thing. My dad pushed for the divorce because he no longer loved her. And even though that can be a valid reason for divorce for a lot of people, but I don't know, there was just something about that being thrown in there as well that made me think, gosh, there is a fear of rejection from this man, and how much of a powerful force he has been in your life, really. And I guess that looming threat of his approval or disapproval. And I think that's really tough. And I'm sorry that you've had to experience that. And I wonder what your relationship is like now, because you said that you thought that this was settled, but actually he loves you now. And you said there was distance between the two of you when you were younger, but I'm guessing that the distance has kind of closed a little bit and that the relationship is a lot stronger now. But it sounds like there's still the threat of, but if he felt differently before, can he feel differently again in the future?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Or not a good question, but a good thought.
I think if I were in your shoes, maybe that's where my mind would go. And that's a really hard one. It's hard to have that conversation with someone, isn't it?
Does he know that you know?
How did you find this out anyway?
Yeah.
How did you know that he was disappointed in the fact that you were dyslexic and you weren't sporty and you liked reading and you were creative? And how did he feel, sorry?
Yeah.
And how did he feel about you being closer to your mum as well? The woman that he didn't love. Yeah, so many things. I'm like, gosh, who is this man?
Did he feel rejected? You know, part of me is wondering that, you know, it's interesting the way you've like presented it all, but part of me is wondering, is there something going on? I mean, I actually feel like I want to have you in my therapy room. I feel like I could talk to you for ages. Like I have so many questions. But part of me is thinking like the rejection piece from him, if he found you different to him, did he know how to connect with you?
Yeah.
Did he see your mum connecting with you in a way that was maybe quite natural? And he found that hard, rejecting? And because, you know, you didn't look like what he looked like this sporty person.
Was that quite rejecting for him?
Yeah. Like almost a bit de-weaponizing. Did he have a fantasy of what you were? Well, he obviously did have a fantasy of what you were going to be. And then when you didn't maybe meet that fantasy and he started to realise who you were, I wonder if he felt a little bit paralysed of, well, I know how to connect through sports and banter and this and that. And like it can be, I almost wondered, did he feel a bit unnerved by you?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that in a way to like, and it's a hard one because I want to understand both sides here. And that's not to excuse anyone's behaviour, but it doesn't sound like there was necessarily any behaviour to excuse either. Like you're not necessarily talking about behaviour, you're just talking about he's had these thoughts and now I'm left quite unsure. And then just coming on to fantasies and disappointment, I think we don't talk about that enough. In the sense where children, partners, even parents, I feel like everybody has a right to have a fantasy for what they want or what they hope for. And then when reality doesn't necessarily match that fantasy and you go from disappointment to acceptance, that's also really valid. Doesn't mean that it's not hard for you to hear it. But it is a process that I think every human goes through. It's almost like, and I'm saying this now because we're in the middle of this a little bit, but it's like when you buy a house, right? I think you can have this fantasy of what you want your ideal home to look like. And then slowly, as like reality starts to sink in, due to different reasons, you start to maybe feel the disappointment. Oh, I thought it was going to be like this, or I thought I was going to have this bit in it, and I always wanted this, and I realised maybe I'm not going to get that now. And then that slowly trickles, hopefully, to a place of acceptance. And I wonder if where you are you still maybe, because it might be quite fresh to you, the news that you've heard, are you just seeing your dad in the disappointed stage?
Yeah.
And if your relationship is good, has he moved to the acceptance stage?
Yeah. And can you handle the fact that he wasn't perfect? And I guess he still isn't, because none of us are. Can you accept him and his fallibility? Can you accept him having a period of time where he didn't know how to accept you, but does now? And I think that when people can be really critical of other people, they usually are very critical of themselves. And it's like an offshoot, an extension of that. And I wonder if you can understand or can see his own difficulty with meeting his own expectations for himself and how he handles disappointing himself, and realised that this was purely a projection onto you, and it didn't have anything to do with you, but everything to do with him.
Yeah, in a way, you're just the vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he put his stuff into.
Yes, which is never a nice experience.
No. And I think that this is going to be quite a slow process for you, because I think that almost what we're talking about is the end goal, maybe, for you. And I think, coming back to what you said at the start, I think, maybe it was me that jumped a bit ahead, but I think that might be something to like talk to him about, that whilst you're figuring this all out, you might have to just take a step back. Because you're not necessarily going to be seeing him for who he is now. You're working through who he was.
Yeah.
With adult eyes.
Yeah.
But with childhood feelings.
Yeah.
That were probably unprocessed, I think. Because I think as a child you would have picked up on it.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Subconsciously, unconsciously. And I wonder as well if things might slowly start to come back to you. Where you start to think, oh, that happened, and was that because of this?
Yeah, new connections being made.
Yeah, that's it. New connections being made. So that's why I think actually this is going to be quite a process for you, and be gentle, be kind with yourself through it. Take your time through it. And if you need space, if you need time, voice that.
Yeah, this is like a difficult thing to do, isn't it? When you have learned of something prior, and yet it can feel really discombobulating. And then you have to reconfigure who this person is, how you relate to them.
Time.
Do you forgive them? Yeah, it can be quite hard when you're thinking of things that have happened retrospectively. That's the word. Yeah, it can be quite hard. Yeah. I really am curious how you found out though. And
I hope he told him.
You think?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I hope.
I hope it wasn't your mum.
That's an interesting one.
Because I was going to say, what was the intention of her? If she did, I wonder what was the intention of her telling you that?
Yeah, what's their relationship like now? What was the divorce like for you?
Yeah.
Did you pick a side? Did the side change?
Yeah. What's your relationship with your mum like now?
Yeah.
Now that you are closer to the man that rejected her.
Yeah. And I read recently, but don't quote me, because I can't quote the exact research, but there is something around the connection of boys to their mothers being much stronger in their earlier years, till around the age of 10, because they need that emotional connection to develop their emotional part of their brain and their capacity. And then when things start to become maybe a bit more active and practical, then they lean towards the father.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of that a lot, and I think I've seen it as well.
Yeah.
I've seen boys who are, really close to their mum for whatever reason. And then, when puberty hits, when they reach 13, when they reach the dreaded year 9 in UK school system, then they're starting to figure out, okay, but who am I in terms of like my gender? Like, what does it look like to be a man?
Who's my role model? Who am I looking up to?
Yeah, who can show me the way? Who can show me how I'm supposed to be feeling or dealing with things or behaving?
Yeah. That's actually sparked a question in me, because you said about I wasn't sporty, or I'm not sporty, and I'm creative. I want to know, was that natural? Did you try to fit in to be sporty at first, and then felt like, actually, no, this is not me? Or was it like from the get-go, no, I'm just not interested? Because I think that's going to also give you a bit more insight into yourself and how you might have developed in regards to your father. Like, was there maybe an initial, like, my dad enjoys all these sports, so even though deep down I know they're not for me, I'm going to try as a way to get love and acceptance? Or did you just go with where your heart desired? So I was saying I hope that it came from his dad, because I'm just wondering whether his dad like came to it from a place of, oh, we're in a good place, I feel like I can share this.
Yeah, but part of me thinks it might not have, though.
What's making you think that?
Because I wonder if you'd have these questions, or if your dad did tell you, then maybe it was the way he told you that would leave you wondering. Because
Like in a bantery way.
Yeah, because I would hope that if it was your dad that told you this, he would have spoke about it from a complete ownership of his misgivings, or in the way that he fell short. You know, I was really concerned with irrelevant things when I was younger, and you know, I felt like I didn't give you the support maybe that you needed, and I tried to shape you into the person that I wanted you to be rather than accepting you for who you were. And I'm sorry I did that. You know, I really learned a lesson over the years, and I'm really proud of the man that you are. That's how I would have hoped your dad would have told you this information. Anything other than that would have left you, I think, with these questions like, gosh, did he even love me? Has he just learned to love me? Rather than did he want to, you know?
Yeah, but I still think these questions can come up. I think even if you're given that holding statement, I think you'll still have questions.
Yeah.
But do you feel like the questions would have gone back to his father, not to us? Yeah.
If there was that vulnerability there and that openness there,
Yeah.
you would have felt safe to
Yeah.
ask him about it.
Yeah. And coming back to vulnerability, do you think you saw that in your dad growing up? Like, because you know what you said earlier, like, are you having to accept your father is not perfect? Do you think you held an image of him being perfect? Is this one of your first moments of, like, seeing the flaws? Was he forthcoming about his flaws? Did he tell you he got things wrong? Like, even, like, silly things.
Yeah.
Like, did he take ownership? Or is this, like, your first experience of your dad really taking ownership for something? That you knew deep down he needed to take ownership for, but you just didn't know, like, what it was, what the quality was. But your body always knows.
Yeah. So lots of questions back to you. But I hope you can
you tell? I want you to tell us who told you.
Yeah. But I hope you can find, you can connect to some feeling of validation, self-worth, acceptance and love, wherever you need to find it from, whoever you get it from, and use that to really ground you in your sense of who you are. Because like you said, this can feel like it's destabilizing the foundation of your relationship. But it doesn't have to destabilize who you are. I think it can be easy to, but it doesn't have to. And the way to do that would be to tap into, who do other people say I am to them? How do other people show up for me? How else do other people love me and accept me and celebrate me? And hold on to that, because that is very true.
Yeah, it's almost like I imagine you as like a house that's been shook and like some bricks have come apart. And I think that's really valid for those bricks to have come apart. But the person putting those bricks back is you.
I like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Let's leave it there.
Let's leave it there.
So if you have any dilemmas, please send them in to us. Where can they send them in?
hello@thetherapyfloor.com.
I'm Dr. Ritz.
And I'm Dr. Vicky.
And we'll see you on the floor soon.
Bye.
Bye.